I just quickly wanted to share this article from the Canary, which does provide some excellent news coverage for the marginalised majority of British people, and here has shared the collective and powerful voice of British Jews who have spoken out very strongly against Margaret Hodge's vile behaviour. So, you know, David Grieber here, speaking as a Jew, let me say, I consider your behaviour so vile as to be itself be anti-Semitic, since crying wolf like this for cynical political advantage means when the real anti-Semites start mobilising, no one will take the warning seriously. Okay, this is what he's tweeted to Margaret Hodge. Other Jewish people agreed with Graeber that Hodge's appalling behaviour was actually undermining the fight against racism. And Andrew Feinstein says here, I am Jewish. My mother, a Holocaust survivor, lost over 30 members of her family in Nazi death camps. I am most certainly not Margaret Hodge. I find her behaviour appalling. It undermines the struggle against all forms of racism, including anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Simple. Criticism of Israel isn't the same as anti-Semitism. Labour's National Executive Committee, NEC, approved the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance IHRA definition of anti-Semitism on the 17th of July, but the party adopted a version of the IHRA's definition without examples that could gag legitimate criticism of Israel, and 36 Jewish groups worldwide spoke out simultaneously to express the same reservations about the IHRA definition. And Jacob Labenz says here, it's not anti-Semitic for the Labour Party to reject the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism if, as I and many other Jews and scholars believe, that definition is deeply flawed. Not accepting a popular definition of anti-Semitism is not nearly the same thing as endorsing anti-Semitism. Jewish Voice for Labour, meanwhile, has insisted that the NEC code should be welcomed as a principled and useful contribution towards providing much-needed clarity both about what is truly anti-Semitic and what constitutes legitimate political discourse about Israel and Palestine. And others have pointed out that while Labour is taking clear steps to ensure that discrimination has no place within its ranks, the ruling Conservative Party's measures to stamp out Islamophobia and endemic racism in its own ranks are woeful. Yes, you know, her full-on Zionist, like Tommy Robinson. She has got more in common with Tommy Robinson and his Nazi followers. Okay, Zionist supporters. He says it all, doesn't it? Nazis supporting Zionists. She's a Nazi. She's actually a criminal. I don't know what she's doing in Parliament with her evil coalition. All on the strength of, you know, what we lawfully suspect with lawful evidence as a rigged election. So, you know, obviously they've adopted the full definition of anti-Semitism. What exactly does Hodge love so much about Israel? In the very same week that Hodge has accused her party leader of racism for refusing to stifle criticism of Israel, the Israeli state has passed a law that critics say officially legalise apartheid. Israel has also faced allegations of war crimes in both the occupied West Bank and Gaza in recent months. An internet search for news about Hodge in Israel, Israel's now infamous nation-state law, appears to bring up no results, suggesting she's made no public comment on the highly controversial legislation. In fact, the top result is an article by Middle East Eye Editor-in-Chief David Hurst, in which he asks how Hodge and other Labour MPs can possibly stand by Israel after the passing of the law. Hurst says the nation-state law defines sovereignty and democratic self-rule as the exclusive or unique right of Jews wherever they live in the world. So, according to this constitution, Hodge, who represents Barking, now has, by law, a right as a British Jew that overrides any right a Palestinian has in his or her own land. Ethnic and religious discrimination has become a constitutional value in the State of Israel. Is this Labour Party policy? He then asks, what exactly about the State of Israel do you support, Margaret Hodge? You know. So, her aim is not to end racism, but to defend Israeli crimes and to undermine Corbyn at all costs. Get involved. Check out Jewish Voice for Peace and Jewish Voice for Labour. Campaign with free speech on Israel and share your concerns about Israelis' crimes with your national or local politicians. Support the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign. Also find out more about the boycott, divestment, sanctions, BDS movement and see previous Canary articles on Israel. Join the Canary so we can keep holding the powerful to account. So, yeah, the Canary, like I say, they do share some important news and give a voice to the marginalised majority people of Britain of care and conscience, whether they be Jew, Muslim, Christian or even atheist. But nonetheless, we collectively uphold our human rights and we outnumber these insane Zionists, so-called, because they're not even Zionists actually, because true Zionists are Rastafarian. Okay, Rastafarian, very peaceful, pure people. And but you see, you know, the voice of the majority doesn't get a looking, does it, in Britain's largely Zionist-controlled media? And this is the article I shared in my previous video that, well, basically discusses this idea, you know, this outburst from Dame Margaret Hodge and, you know, the alleged massive support that she's got in Britain. So obviously the Independent, you know, they are only going to put forward the Zionist perspective, aren't they? We have to rely on alternative news providers to give us the true picture and present the true facts, because we can't trust the media. We can't trust them to fully represent our interests. A media that tolerates her. Okay? So, you know, the good people of Britain, we do outnumber these criminal Zionists, because that's what they are, they're criminals. They usurp the Judaic faith. They vamp off Judaic suffering, the suffering of Judaic peoples. They vamped off it for how many decades? And got themselves a niche of power in Israel, and they are Nazis. Okay, that's what they uphold, a Nazi philosophy, a Nazi so-called ideology, demonology, a demonology that has robbed Palestinian people of their rights and their lands and forced them to live in concentration camps, so in abject poverty and surrounded by Israeli military checkpoints, and now have even decided that only Jews in every nation have a right to a democratic voice, because, you know, all non-Jews, according to Zionists, are actually tantamount to cattle. Okay, we're not even human beings, you know. And of course the majority of Jews do not support any such ideology, demonology. Of course they don't. They are fundamentally anti-Nazi just simply by being human. And I've always had top respect for the people of Judaic faith. I stand by them 100%. The true Jews, the humane, caring, compassionate Jews, as I say, I know outnumber these usurping monsters, these usurping alleged Zionist monsters, 50 to 1. 50 to 1. We outnumber them. And it's about time that our voice took precedence over the likes of her. You know, and how dare she denigrate Jeremy Corbyn for standing up for people's human rights. And it is actually the Zionists themselves who pose the biggest threat to the people of Judaic faith, and their disgusting definition of what it means to be anti-Semitic. Well, I'm sorry, you know. You're not allowed to commit serious crimes against humanity in this world and get away with it on the strength that you're a Jew. That you allege to be a Jew. Because you're not a Jew, Margaret Hodge. You're not a Jew. You're not even a British citizen. Because no British citizen and no true Jew supports the so-called Zionists. And that's a fact. And everybody who stands with you, get out of Britain, the lot of you. Get out. You've got no place here. You traitors. You treasonous. Get out. Go to Israel. Go and live in Israel. So, as I say, big, huge thanks to the Canary and to the good Judaic peoples of Britain. I don't call you Jewish because there's nothing ish about you. It's the anti-Semite Zionists who are Jew-ish. Ish is the relevant word, the relevant syllable of that word in relation to Zionists. The alleged Zionists, who aren't even Zionists, because like I say, true Zionists are Rastafarian. So, you know, big love and thanks to all, and may love succeed.